It's time for a new adventure.
Welcome back to another episode of Adventures in Business. This is your co-host Amy Zander, and I am with the lovely Lisa. How you doing?
Doing great, Amy. How are you today?
Good. I'm really good. I recently started playing pickleball, and we do that every Wednesday at night with some friends. And as long as the weather's still cooperating, and it's been really fun. I didn't think I'd like it, but I do.
What is pickleball? I hear about it. It seems like it's the new rave. What is it and where do you play?
So we play at Grand Woods Park. I think that's what it's called, just like north of Horrocks on the west side. They have some outdoor courts. There's also Patriarch Park in East Lansing has some really nice courts. I'd like to find an indoor one, but it's kind of a combination, I would say, between ping pong and tennis.
Mm.
So the paddles are more like ping pong paddles, a little bit bigger, and the court is about half the size of a tennis court. So that's amazing to me because I'm not really a runner. I think tennis is like way too much running. But it's fun, and the rules are interesting. They're just super simple, and it's just fun. I think it's fun to do with other couples or people. And the way that the courts work is that you can go there without having anyone to play with, and they will sub and switch people in if people are there playing, and there's like a sign up sheet, and it's just a really friendly sport, which I think is nice. So
I
yeah,
love it. You mentioned Grand Woods Park, Patriarch Park. We represent the 517 community. And if you listeners have not been to check out some of the parks, Waldemar Nature Center, Harris Nature Center, just some of the parks where they're building up the playground equipment all around the DeWitt, Lansing, outside of Lansing areas, do some due diligence. Get out there. Take a
yeah,
look at some of the things that we have to offer here in our
right.
community that you might be missing out on.
Yeah, I recently discovered Fox Memorial Park, which is I think Potterville,
Yep.
near that cider mill down there. And we were on a bike ride, and we're like, let's just zip in here and see what this is all about. I was like, what is this? This is
Mhm.
like this hidden secret back here. They have a planetarium thing, or I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like a pole barn,
Mhm.
and the whole roof moves back, and they have this cool thing to look at the stars, and they have a beach there
Mhm.
and fishing pier and stuff like that. I was like, wow, this is a hidden gem. So that's really cool too.
And I think a lot of our people that have been on our show, a lot of our guests, and a lot of people we talk to in the community, that's one of the big worries is keeping people in Michigan, keeping people here after they graduate and
Right.
they've heard, oh, there's nothing in the Lansing area, there's nothing for us here. And that is so wrong.
It is.
Wrong. It's
Yeah.
so many cool things to
Right.
see and do.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I guess we should let our listeners know that in this episode today, we don't have a guest. So we had one scheduled, but it didn't work out. So Lisa and I decided to jump on here and just talk about some of the cool things that we've been seeing going around in Lansing. And then also we're going to give you a little bit update on our show for season 3 that will start in January, and just some things that we're going to be switching around, and also to let you know that, we'll be looking for guests and what we'll be looking for. So if you haven't been on our show, or somebody who you think should be on our show, you can let them know and point them in that direction.
And kick us off, Amy. I hear you have another testimony.
I do actually. I love this new thing that we're doing. So, this new testimony comes from Blake Garner. He works at La Fontaine. They just had a grand opening of another showroom. I think it was last night, but he was on our show just a little while ago, and he said, I had such a great time recording for the podcast. I am not one to do this sort of thing normally, and I came in very nervous. Within minutes of speaking with Amy and Lisa, I was at ease and having fun. 10 out of 10. I would totally recommend. So thanks, Blake. We
Yay!
appreciate that.
Thanks, Blake. That was awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, if any of you are listening to this and you like to hear would like to hear your name read on our show and want to leave us a review, you can do it in several places. We have our Facebook page, which is Adventures in Business Podcast. Then we have our YouTube channel and our iTunes as well. So those will be all great places to leave us a review, and we would much appreciate that. Also, so we're recording this on October 18th, and it will come out a week from now. But currently, right now, through the end of the month, are the voting for the City Pulse's top of the town categories. And traditionally, we have been in the running for podcasts. And so, if you feel led to do that, please check that out and vote for us and vote for all of your favorite businesses in that category. It's just a fun thing to do, and any business owner enjoys seeing their name in something like that. So support your local businesses by doing that.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So tell us, Amy, share with our listeners what they have to look forward to for season 3.
Yeah, I am really excited about this. So, as our listeners know, we release a new episode every Wednesday. And currently, what you and I have been doing is recording every Wednesday at 11 o'clock with a new guest. And that is amazing because we have amazing guests, and sometimes we're booked out and we have a waiting list. But for our schedules, it's been a little hard to work around that Wednesday 11 o'clock slot every week because there's a lot of networking things that happen on Wednesdays, and we have our own businesses we're running, and you do a lot of trainings and things like that. So we've decided to shift a bit, and we are going to attempt to record all 4 episodes for the month on one day. So one day a month. And we are partnering with Risky Studios in East Lansing. I'm really excited about this. So the plan is, if all goes well and we can figure it all out, that we will be spending about a half a day a month at Risky Studios and inviting the guests that we have into the studio. We can still offer the virtual StreamYard platform if they can't make it to the studio, if it just works out better for them to do it remotely. That's fine. But if they want to come into the studio, then we can sit around the table and talk, and we'll all be in the same spot. And Risky Studios is going to help us with all that and creating a cool space because, we also have our YouTube channel. So we want it to be visually pleasing as well. And we also think it'll hopefully benefit them by bringing in more people from the community into their studio to see it, because it is a super cool space. And they do, we've had them on here, so I'll link them to the show notes here, but they do audio recording as well as video. And then they also are a music studio. So they produce music. So if anybody's listening and they have a need for something like that, check them out. Risky Studios in East Lansing. So that's going to be really exciting. And we are also changing up a little bit about how we invite guests onto the show. So, in the past, we've just had our calendar and people can jump on there and sign up for a slot, and they have to answer a couple questions and it's cool, good to go. And then we see them at their time. But Lisa and I have been kind of transforming this show into, it will always be a platform for people to talk about their business, because we believe that's why we started it. And that's what we believe people need, that platform, as opposed to just that 30-second little tidbit in networking and stuff. We want people to really get to know the businesses in the 517 and other things going on, nonprofits, businesses, events, all kinds of things, artists, all that stuff that we've been promoting. But because we're doing this show for a community service, putting that out there and marketing them and trying to connect people, we want to focus a little bit more on what these businesses are doing to give back to the community. So that's a big part of what we want to talk about, and also connecting people. We had started about halfway through this last season saying, who do you want to be connected with, and who can we introduce you to if we know them, or maybe one of our listeners knows them, and things like that. So we want to be a promoter of doing really good, cool things in the community, and also really connecting people.
That's so important to help us to continue to grow and thrive as businesses, meeting people, but also that I don't want to necessarily call it a philanthropic piece, but there's so many businesses that are doing great things in giving back to the community. And oftentimes people don't do it because they want the recognition. They just do it because that's a part of who they are. And I don't know about you, Amy, but I really enjoy doing business with people that care about other people, that it's not necessarily we need to make profit, right? Can't give what we don't
Sure.
have, but putting people up there equally as important as the profitability of their organizations.
Yeah, I agree, and I like to do business with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And our listeners know that I have a marketing company and I have several
Mhm.
clients, and I'm always asking them like, well, what are you doing in the community? And were you at this fundraiser? Did you do this event?
Mhm.
And most often they're like, well, yeah, but we don't want to market that. I mean, that's just something we do, and that seems weird to market that like we're bragging or something like that. And I'm like, well, don't forget though that when you do market those things, you are giving exposure to the organization that you're helping. Because if you put it on Facebook like, oh, I was at this event for the Rotary or say Waldemar or Twigs that we had on here, who's a nonprofit. Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like you don't have to say, I just donated $100,000. You could just be
Right.
I attended this gratitude breakfast and it was awesome. And I saw these people and tag them and talk about the organization. You don't have to ever tell anyone you actually donated it to talk about where
Mhm.
you go and how you spend your time in the organizations that you love and support. So there are ways to market the things that you are involved in the community without it sounding like a brag.
Look at me.
Right. Yeah. Which and I'm also not opposed to that either. I mean, that's just kind of part
Mhm.
of your brand or your personality or how
Yeah.
you want to be. And then when I see people doing those kinds of things, that I think that's fine too. There's just
Good.
different ways that people feel comfortable about doing it. But don't my whole point is don't forget that when you talk about those things, you're still promoting the
Mhm.
organization that you're supporting. So that's always good. So
I love that mindset and the way that you just, that you spun that. There's advantages to doing it and being able to help those companies even more by
yeah.
showcasing what they do. Those
Yeah,
nonprofits.
absolutely. Yeah, so when we ask our guests on the show who they want to connect with, I love that part because I feel like Lisa, you know everybody in Lansing, and so that's great. You've connected me with some great people. But I want to take a couple minutes to talk to our listeners about how who we personally want to connect with for our show and some things that people that we would like to have on. And so one of the things that I would like to have on are the owners and the people running the new Gray Wall Hall downtown Lansing, the music venue, and they're having some comedians and things like that. I would love to have somebody from Gray Wall Hall on here. I would love to have somebody from Robin Theater in Rio
Mhm.
Town on this show because they're doing a lot of really cool things, the entertainment value, the things that we can counter with when people say there's nothing going on in Lansing. Oh, yes, there is. And I do plan on having Michelle Carlson on here from the Lansing Art Gallery. They have a lot of cool things going on at the Art Gallery. So those are some people, and I know you've been talking to some people too.
Mhm.
There's the new Woman of the Year Athena winner that I think we're gonna reach out to and see if she wants to be on here. So yeah.
Well, and also part of what we're looking to do is reaching out to officials in our community, things that are talking about the economy and what's going on. And it's not to make it a political thing, but as I've been networking and meeting more people and diving into our community, there are so many programs available for small business owners out there. There are so many grant opportunities and opportunities to recognize the city pulse right now is doing the top of the town. Yeah, they do that frequently. There are so many other ways to get some businesses recognized and finding out what are some of those programs and where are we headed and the growth that we want to do in this area. As a business owner, I find that very encouraging.
Hmm.
And so, it's just a big melting pot of the 517 community, the businesses, the people, and how do we springboard them into further success?
Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah. So I can't believe we've had this will be we're going into our third season. We'll start in January. We're wrapping up season 2. This is episode 37 of season 2, and I believe season 1 we had almost 90 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So Lisa, have you ever ran into a situation at a networking event or something like that where somebody recognized you from the podcast first? That was the first thing that have you had that?
I don't think from the podcast first, but they're very much aware of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I do so much in the community and training and things like that, sometimes they recognize the face first and then
Right.
put that
Yeah.
connection together.
Yeah.
But have you?
I had somebody recognize my voice, which was
Mm.
interesting. They're like, "Wait, your voice sounds really familiar. How do I know you?" And I was like, maybe the podcast." We're like, "Oh yeah," it was funny. But what often happens to me too is, and I network quite a bit, but not as much as you do. And not, I don't know, I don't think I know as many people as you do. But I'll be like, "Hi, I'm Amy Zander. I have this podcast, Adventures in Business. My co-host is Lisa Fisher." "Oh, I know Lisa." That's what everybody always says. "I know Lisa." I'm like, "Yeah, she's awesome. Get on our show."
I
So that
love it.
happens to me a lot. Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
I just being able to help people really recognize the value of being in the community and what they offer is important.
Right.
Good.
Absolutely. And my ultimate goal for this podcast is, of course, I always say like world domination with stuff, but really I want everybody in the Lansing area to know about the show and know that they have access to it. They can come on it if they if it makes sense for them to be on the show as a guest and things that they're doing, but also just listening. I have lots of people that have told me, "I just like to listen to your show to figure out what's going on in Lansing and
Mm-hmm.
who's coming up and who's around and different things." And you can also pick and choose what episodes you listen to if you aren't interested in that particular guest or business, or that's something in your wheelhouse or not, which I think is
Yeah.
cool. You don't have to necessarily listen to every episode, although we like that. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to the next season. And we also do have some advertising packages. So, as our podcast has grown, we get more and more listeners and more downloads. So, we have some pretty impressive numbers to share with people that want to get more exposure. And I think our advertising packages are very reasonable. Our prices, we try to keep them low and accessible for people because the whole point of the show is expose as many businesses in the Lansing area as we can to each other in the community. But we have some expenses that go along with producing a podcast too. So that always helps. And so that's a really cool thing. So you don't have to be a guest on our show to advertise on our show. And if you are interested in any of those opportunities for season 3, please reach out to us and let us know. My email is very easy. It's amy@zdiamedia.com, or you can message any of us through any of the socials that we're on, for sure, if you're interested in that kind of thing.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we'll wrap this up. I think we covered what we were going to cover. This was kind of a off the cuff, on the fly kind of episode, but it was good chatting with you and letting people know what we're doing and what's going on. So again, think about being on our show or recommending somebody for our show for season 3, and probably sometime in mid-December, we will have the signups starting in January for our guests available for that season.
Excellent. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been such an honor and a privilege to co-host this show with you, Amy. And um, again, I just appreciate everything that you are doing to make this happen.
Oh, same, Lisa, right back at you. It's been fun. It's our labor of love, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a great week. And to our listeners, thanks again for tuning in and listening to Lisa and I chat with each other and with you about what's been going on. And, we release new episodes every Wednesday. Of course, you can find us at zdiamedia.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So, and as always, please go out and make it an adventure.
This is a Zedia Media production.